So if you guys have any questions or concerns, you guys can contact me. I'm at Primary Plus. I'm the dietitian there. So, feel free if after this program you have any questions to contact me, okay? Because I'll be more than happy to help you out if I can. Just a few things starting off. You've got lots of goodies today, and I'm sure that when Sally gets back, she'll tell you all about everything that you have on your tables there in front of you. You do have the recipes, though, and you also have a handout that we'll kind of use today in our presentation, and then you also have an evaluation. So if you can fill out that evaluation, we'll know how to improve this program the next time that we do it. All right? And feedback is good, so please, put a comment in every section so we know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. Last week, we kind of had a few things that we wanted to talk about that people had questions about, so I am going to hit that real quick first. And we were talking about how much, which the gentleman's not here tonight that asked that question, but a fourth of a teaspoon of salt has 600 milligrams of sodium. So when we were talking about that, a whole teaspoon of salt has 23 milligrams of sodium. So on a daily basis, you only need about a teaspoon. So you can see how much of that you need. And did anybody kind of take a look at the food labels this week to see how much sodium they were consuming? Was it kind of crazy?
Yeah.
It could be out of control, can't it? So, but I did just want to point that out because I think that we mentioned that it was about a teaspoon equal 2,300 milligrams, which is what you need today. The gentleman also asked about the salt sense, and I really still didn't figure out much about that. It's 100% pure salt with 30% less sodium by volume. So if that tells you anything, then get it. The next thing that we talked about was a home-style meal and what that kind of looked like. So we're looking at, did I not do the table? Okay, so if you had, there he is. If you had a dinner with white beans or soup beans or whatever, you could do about a cup of those for 40 grams. If you did a small piece of cornbread, it would be 29 grams. But who just has one piece of cornbread, right? So 2 pieces of cornbread would be closer to about 58 grams. So if we add that together, we're already up to 98 grams, and we didn't even consider the fried potatoes. Right, so you do have to watch your portions. So when I got it in serving sizes, if you just did a half of a cup of beans, 1 piece of cornbread, and a 5-ounce serving of potatoes, it equaled 24 grams of carbohydrates. So you're talking about small portions, but it is something that if you want that typical meal that you could have. So that's just kind of, does everybody follow that? Should have put it on the slide there.
And how much was the 1/2 cup of beans, 1 piece of cornbread,
and a 5-ounce serving of potatoes was
is 24 grams?
Yeah, which doesn't sound right. That can't be right.
No, because 29 was a small
No.
piece.
Where did I have that at? Oh no, here it is. 72 grams of carbohydrates. I'm sorry. Can't even read my handwriting. Yeah, and the other
That's
one.
a whole lot more.
Yeah, it's a whole lot more. And then the other one, if you did 2 pieces of cornbread, a whole cup of beans, and still the 5 ounces of potatoes, you're up to 120 grams. So you can see that it can easily get double your recommended serving size or serving amount of the carbohydrates there. So the other thing I wanted to mention real quick before we got started was if you're not a member of the American Diabetes Association, it's a great thing to join. They send a monthly magazine called Diabetes Forecast. You guys do that? And they have great recipes in there. So every month I get at least 1 to 2 recipes that I use on a regular basis. So that's something good you can do. Okay, so let's get started. Last week we talked about what is heart healthy eating and how can heart healthy eating help decrease the risk of cardiovascular disease. So we got a pretty good handle talking about the fats, the different types of fats and sodium and things like that. But this week we're going to talk about fiber and vitamins and minerals, okay? So what is the role of fiber in our diet? It definitely slows the absorption of sugar from the food, okay? So if you have high fiber foods, they're going to decrease the rise in your blood sugar after you eat a meal or snack. So that's why we want to include things that have good and high in fiber. Many may reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes, and we'll kind of touch on that a little bit later. It helps control weight, and that's for a couple reasons. It does slow the digestion, so you feel fuller faster. So that's one of the things that can help you control your weight. Lowers blood cholesterol, because if you eat fiber, then the fiber takes out the amount of LDL cholesterol out of your bloodstream. So it's a good way to get that cholesterol lowered. Of course, it helps with constipation and diarrhea, lowers the risk of bowel disorders, and it also can lower the risk of breast, prostate, and colon cancer. So all those are great things, and that's why we should all consume a lot of fiber. Let's see. It also cannot be digested by the body, so it offers no calories. Okay. Sources of fiber. So whole grains, we talked about how to read the food label, and we'll talk about that later. Bread, cereal, fruit, vegetables, and also beans and legumes. So you can see all those things listed up there. Remember that fiber is only found in plant-based foods. It's not in animal products. So how much fiber do you need? Okay, so you can look up there at that chart, and you can see based on your age, male or female, how many grams of fiber you need per day. And we did talk about last week, it might be good to kind of write that down, kind of do one day do an experiment of how much sodium you take in, one day do an experiment of how much fiber you take in, and so you can kind of see the trends in that, okay? And you notice that we need more. Anybody have any clue why that is? Any ideas? I don't know either. Okay. So whole grain, you can see the different parts of the grain there. Scientists are always looking at fiber and figuring out more reasons why people with diabetes and other diseases actually need more fiber. It does lower the markers of vascular inflammation, which a lot of people with diabetes have, and that inflammation can cause an increased risk of heart attack in people with diabetes. Can you get it? They're hard, aren't they? So foods that are made with 100% of the grain, such as whole wheat bread or brown rice, they always say whole grain first. Okay, so even if the second or third ingredient says whole grain, you want to go for the one that says whole grain first, because we don't know if 49% of it is whole grain or 1% of it is whole grain if it's not listed first. So you do want to find one that says whole grain first. And they are out there. Ways to add whole grains, which I really like this slide because a lot of times we don't think about such simple ways to get in more fiber. One that we did mention before in the weeks is if you don't like the taste of whole wheat pasta quite yet, that you do half whole wheat pasta, half white pasta, and mix them together, and so you can start acquiring that taste for the whole wheat pasta. You could also substitute a half of white flour for whole wheat flour in your recipes. You could add some brown rice to your stuffing or casseroles. Use 100% whole cornmeal when making, your cornbread or corn muffins. I like this one. Add 3/4 of a cup of oatmeal for each pound of ground beef when cooking burgers and things like that. So that's something that would be easy and different to try. Kind of change it up. And then also to stir in a handful of whole grain cereal into yogurt. Remember though, if you're doing these things, that you do have to count those carbohydrates. So you want to watch, and make sure you have accounted for that. Any questions about fiber before we move on to, yeah?
Wheat germ is also good. Put about a tablespoon of wheat germ in your yogurt.
Yeah, so that would be something also that you could do. Thank you. So vitamins and minerals, of course, you've heard it all the time that people should eat at least 5 servings of fruit and vegetables every single day. So hopefully you guys are getting that. They are excellent sources of vitamins, minerals, fiber, and then just also other important nutrients in the diet. So you want to make sure, you've heard this a ton of times too, that you get a colorful, you want all of your fruits and vegetables to be different colors because they are going to offer different nutrients. And we're not going to go into what fruit or vegetable offers what nutrients because we don't have enough time for that. But if you do have questions about that at some other time, just let me know. You do need to remember that fruits are, a high source of carbohydrates. So, you don't want to get a whole lot of fruits at one meal. You do want to try to get one at each meal and snack, but you want to eat those with other foods. And if you've been to any counseling session with me, you know that I stress the importance of, if you're going to have some kind of fruit for a snack, that you add a protein. It's very, very important. So, and that way you don't have that spike in blood glucose, and the protein kind of helps level that blood glucose off without getting a high and then a low. Okay, so you want to make sure you're adding protein with any of your fruits. Vegetables, on the other hand, except for those four that we talked about, corn, peas, potatoes, and beans, all the other ones are a real, you can get a bang for your buck. You can fill up on those. You can, they're good sources of fiber. They're low in calories. They're not high in carbohydrates. So you want to eat more of those vegetables that are considered the free ones. And if you've been in a counseling with me, you also know that we talk about the free ones. But they are low in calories. The ones that you need to watch are the corn, potatoes, peas, and beans. And remember, we can still eat those foods. We just have to account for them when we're counting our carbohydrates. Okay, so kind of switching gears a little bit and talking about osteoporosis real quick. Bone mass peaks at about age 35, and then our bones become less dense and more brittle. You can see there that women can lose 20% of their bone mass in the 5 to 7 years following menopause. And you can see the statistics there for how prevalent osteoporosis is. A diet rich in calcium can help prevent and treat osteoporosis, and also engaging in regular weight-bearing exercise. So at the beginning of this program, we did talk about how we wouldn't have time to incorporate any kind of physical activity into our hour program, but it's very important. If you don't have weights at home, get cans of soup, get full water bottles, do something and get that weight-bearing exercise. I was doing a program with the Mason County Health Department, and if any of you guys know Allison Adams, she does a program for women, but she just talked about, if you raise your hands over your head, Anita, don't get me doing that. So many times you can start to feel, the resistance there. And so anything like that, it really does help out and it does work. So you don't have to go out and buy weights. Get the soup cans, get the bottles of water, and you can have some weight-bearing exercise there. Calcium requirements, you can see there 1,200 milligrams for most adults. And then this shows you down at the bottom, where you can look to find out how much calcium. So that has 15% of the daily value of what you should have. So based on a 2,000 calorie diet again, but you can kind of get an idea of how much calcium you're consuming in a day. Sources of calcium, of course, are milks, yogurt, cheese, cottage cheese, pudding, anything with milk. But also canned fish, leafy greens, nuts, and seeds. And in this, it kind of talked a little bit about you want to make sure that you get, the National Dairy Council recommends 3 servings per day, so you can kind of think back at your diet and see if you're getting 3 servings a day of these types of things. And then also removing the fat from the dairy products. So if you get skim or you get 1% milk, it's not going to take away the calcium. So you want to stick with those lower fat versions. Also lower fat versions of cheese, sour cream, cream cheese, that type of thing. You want to use the lower fat versions of that.
But you don't want fat free.
Not the fat free, because it doesn't melt and it's not appropriate for baked dishes and things like that, because it doesn't melt the same. Yeah. Let's see. And they also talked about canned fish with the bones, such as salmon and sardines. They're also a good source of calcium. You want to watch the sodium on those types of things if they're canned, but you can definitely do those types of things. Let's see, did I miss one? Yeah, okay. Calcium supplements, they include vitamin D, they include magnesium, and you want to take them with plenty of fluid. You want to choose a form that's easiest for you to take, and that's different for everybody. And the body can only absorb about 500 milligrams at a time, which is something that some people may not know, so you definitely want to space those supplements several hours apart. So that you can get the maximum absorption of those pills. So you want to make sure that you're not taking too much at one time.
And if you take iron,
yes,
you need to have iron at a different time.
Yes, and that's something that you can talk with your doctor and pharmacist about if you're going to do that, but good point. They're available though in pills, liquid, quick dissolve tablets, chewable forms. So there's many different ways that you can take your calcium supplement.
The most fun is to do the calcium chews that are chocolate, and then you can pretend you're getting your chocolate out of the way.
Okay, so they don't taste too bad?
Oh, they're great.
Okay.
They're great.
Really?
The caramel's okay, but I've never been a caramel fan. The chocolate is just
Interesting.
As a rule, women need calcium supplements. Do you need calcium supplements as well?
Well, it depends on how much you feel like you're getting from your diet, and if you don't know, getting limestone to see, what your levels are. So talk to your doctor about that one. Quick multivitamin quiz. Look down through there. Do you eat 6 servings of grains, 2 servings of fruit, 3 servings of veggies, 3 or more servings of dairy a day? So I'm not going to read all that. But if you answered no to 1 or more of these questions, you may need a multivitamin. Of course, this is something that you want to discuss with your doctor before, you just go grab one. You want to ask, kind of discuss that with them. But if you answered no to 1 or more of those, you might need one.
What was the last one? I'm sorry.
Oh. A wide variety of foods every day. The balancing act. Some people call diabetes a balancing act. There's lots of things that you have to take into account, right? Increasing physical activity, making sure that your medications are taken correctly, making sure that your meal plan's the way that it's supposed to be. So there's many things that you need to balance there. If you don't have a meal plan that works for you currently, coming to see, either me, another dietitian, your doctor, and talking about that meal plan and how you can use that to get your numbers under control. So it's definitely a balancing act, but it is a balancing act that we can actually get in equilibrium, right? We can take care of this. We've talked about the plate method a lot during the 4 sessions that we've had, and you also have a handout with some of the information that we've talked about today. It talks a little bit about fiber and the vitamins and minerals, and it also has the plate method on there again for you, so you can look at that. But just a quick recap of all 4 sessions. In the first one, we talked about those 5, kind of 7 tests that we want to have done, and those smoke alarms. I'm almost done with these. What is associated with diabetes, so what we need to be looking for, A1C, blood pressure, cholesterol. What else was there? The triglyceride, that was kind of included in that. Also what test am I talking about? I had a brain freeze here, guys. What was the other one? It's going to bug me.
Odd name.
It was. What was it? Come on. Okay, well, I don't know what that is right now. Okay, here it is. The LDL, the blood pressure, microalbumin, that's what I was forgetting. And then eye exam and the dental exam and all those things. So you want to make sure that you're including all those things. Second session, we talked about carbohydrates, which a lot of you have heard again and again, but how those affect and how they count carbohydrates and that kind of thing. Third session, which was just last week, we learned about fats, healthy fats, how to incorporate those into our diet. And then this week, of course, we're talking about fiber, vitamins, and minerals. Okay, so all these things go into great diabetes care for you or a loved one or whoever that you're here to support. Definitely, if you need more help, contact a member of your healthcare team. So wherever you go to the doctor, or maybe the eye doctor or whoever it may be that you're having trouble, definitely contact them. Me, your pharmacist. We will not be having a follow-up class, so if you did see on your evaluations, it talks about what sessions you would like at a follow-up class, but feel free to still mark some of the titles that sound interesting to you, because that'll help us plan events in the future. Okay, so if you, even though we're not, because usually with this program, but we're doing a variation of this program, you meet a couple months later and kind of follow up, and we're not going to be able to do that with this actual grant. So, but still we might have some sessions in the future, so make sure you fill that out and tell us what you think. Tonight we are having hearty vegetable bean soup, some cheddar chive biscuits, some orange day bars. We're starting off with a salad. So I hope you guys enjoy your meal. Any questions for me real quick before I have to go? Okay. It's been a great group. Thank you all so much. I hope you've enjoyed the 4 weeks and